Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is
Oh,
Tuesday, 9th of September, all day. I've had some issues with my mobile phone, so I've had to jump on my laptop. So I've got a nagging feeling that it all might go wrong today, but we'll persevere. It's myself and Mr. Michael Brown. Mr. Brown chooses himself to jumpstart your day with the morning blast, give you a review of yesterday's market action, a preview of what we possibly could expect today, overnight news, etc., etc. But before we do, we'll get the legals out of the way. Nothing discussed on this basis session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, myself, Ryan Paisley, or indeed Mr. Michael Brown. How are you?
good morning to you, mate. I've been better, to be honest with
Oh
you.
no, what's happened?
I've been battling technological issues of my own this morning with an email account that didn't want to work, and now
I've told you
for,
before, the toast goes in the bread goes in the slot, it comes out as toast.
And for the second day running, some eco-mentalist hippie loons have decided to turn up over the road with megaphones and flares and banging drums
Flares?
and God knows whatever else. Yeah, it's like a Millwall away day out there.
Oh, Mill. Just as we're having a bit of a rant, let me quickly chime in with the tube strikes. Um, you know, absolute shower of shit, if I'm being honest with you. As I've just messaged RMT and they've replied back with some rubbish. If these guys are really guys and girls, if they are really striking for the reasons they say, more power to them. But they should be on the picket line for the duration of their strikes like we saw with
Yes.
the miners and all stuff like that. But there's not. The RMT's own pictures boasting about picket lines, they've got like 4 or 5 people in them. And one of them is
Yeah.
one picture is Jeremy Corbyn with a load of
Oh,
Palestine Action
fucking hell.
banners.
Of course he
It's,
is. No,
it's
but
absolutely,
I
it's
agree
just
with you on
fucking
that.
moronic.
I mean, firstly, I'm going to go on a rant now. I think the
Go on,
strikes, the reason for the
get
strikes, I'm
comfortable,
sorry,
everyone.
is absolutely mental. You've got people working for the Tube who work a grand total of 4 days a week. They do 35 hours a day for that
Oh,
4 day week.
the vapors.
And apparently that's too tiring, it's too fatiguing, it's too exhausting for them. So they want to go down to 32 hours a week.
Mate.
I
Also,
mean, grow a
it,
fucking pair. You've
yeah,
got
I
paid
mean,
God knows how much. I mean, there was a video yesterday doing the rounds of a
someone
Tube
doing knitting.
driver knitting while he's
Yeah,
driving a train. I'm
true, mate.
sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you can't assume these days, right? But
Oh dear, we're going to get cancelled.
oh, what do you
So
mean? Get? We already have been.
So what was the end of the show then, guys? Well, it's me and Michael went on a rant about the RMT union and they brought us down. But
Oh
lads,
dear.
this is the RMT's doing. This is a union. This is classic union, long term, destroying the industry that they're claiming to try and protect. There are enough workers' rights out there now. Unions, really, in my opinion, like this, like activist unions like the RMT, do more harm than good to the industry and the employees that they're trying to commit in the long term. But no one sees that. But anyway,
Yeah,
enough
and
of us
also the other thing
moan.
with this is,
Oh,
you know,
hello, you're back.
we will move on. But the other thing with this, just lastly, is they're being very short-sighted because
Absolutely.
it's an industry. We are in an age of technological change,
Yes,
as we all
this
know.
is what I
It's an
mean.
industry that is ripe for automation and AI and all the
They don't
rest
have
of
to
it.
choose to go left or right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I
look,
would be
let's be
saying,
frank.
I'd be trying to prove the value of my
Yeah,
members, not calling them out on strike and basically uniting 8 million people in the city of London to go, actually, fuck the lot of you, just automate the tube. I need to get to work.
I mean, and the DLR's still working. How about that one?
Well, no, because they've gone on strike today as well.
What? But the DLR's got no driver.
Oh, they have a guard, apparently. But anyway,
I've
shall
never
we
seen
actually
one
move
person
on?
on the DLR.
Well,
I sit at the front
apparently
pretending
they
I'm driving
exist.
the fucking thing.
I thought that seat was reserved for children. Oh, well, that adds up.
I've got a pass. I've got a pass. Right, move on, move on.
Oh,
What's
dearie
been
me.
occurring?
Right. Well, actually, I'm glad we have gone on that rant because, to be honest, I didn't really have that much to mention this morning. The
See,
lead
all planned,
story.
everyone, all planned.
I am going to go full Daily Mail though. Sidebar of shame with the lead story this morning on the Morning Blast, and that is to speak about a private dinner which took place in Washington DC last week, and a dinner at which Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has endeared himself to every
Oh, mate,
single person in
favourite
financial markets after threatening Federal Housing Director and all-round general annoyance Bill Pulte, saying, "I will punch you in the fucking face. Why the fuck are you talking to the president about me? Fuck you. We could go outside." To which Bill Pulte went, "What? To talk about it?" And Besant turns around and goes, "No, I'm going to fucking beat your ass." Well
I mean,
played, Mr. Besant.
honestly, I've got, you're obviously one of my favorite people, and so are the few of the listeners that are there. Hi, everyone. But yeah, he's just gone right to the top. I'm afraid if he's ever in London, I'll buy him more than one pint.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the,
But
the
also,
only the only way he
go on.
could top that is if he actually did it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, this is the thing, though. There is a UFC ring being put into the White House fairly soon. I'm just throwing it out there. You know, Bill, right, so yeah, was it kind of the Beast Bezant versus Pissy Pants Pult?
Well, yeah, and from pictures I've seen of him, I think Bill Pulte is probably smaller even than you. So it's going to be a bit of a
Impossible.
one-sided contest.
Impossible. Right.
Anyway,
Go on, move
enough
on.
of the fighting on the White House lawn. It's safe to say that markets didn't do especially much yesterday. We did see some gains at the long end of the Treasury curve, with the 30-year yield falling below 4.7% for the first time since early May. But beyond that, it was very much just a continuation of Friday's post-payrolls momentum, with stocks gaining ground across the board. The tech sector leading the way, with the Nasdaq up by about 0.5%, and the dollar trading broadly softer against most peers as the market continued to dovishly reprice its Fed policy expectations. We now see about 71 basis points of cuts in the curve by year end. This time last week, that was about 55 basis points. So quite a significant move on that front. And gold rallying north of $3,600 an ounce for the first time, although we have seen a little bit of profit taking coming in early trade this morning. In terms of fundamental catalysts, as I said, things were lacking somewhat. We have had some news overnight, though, on the trade front. Firstly, Japan's trade negotiator Akazawa, he has said that tariff discussions with the US are not yet fully resolved, and that Japan must ensure the trade deal that's been agreed is indeed carried out and implemented. This very much feeds into what we were discussing on the call yesterday, and of course it's now something that the new Prime Minister, whoever he is going to have to deal with, and the LDP confirming this morning that they are going to hold that leadership election, or the result of that election will be announced on the 4th of October, which is right at the start of next month. In terms of other trade headlines, we also heard from the South Korean presidential advisor this morning. It sounds like South Korea are making excuses, to be completely honest with you. This chap's saying that trade negotiations with the US are being delayed because South Korea are worried about the impact of their $350 billion worth of US investments on the FX market, and they have asked the US to help find a solution to that potential capital markets impact. Well, Mr. South Korean presidential advisor, if you're listening, if you need a broker to hedge that risk, give me a shout. I might be able to know a few people who can help you out with that one. To be honest, though, on a more serious note, it does just sound like they're sort of stalling and trying to play for time a little bit on that front. If you want to mitigate foreign exchange risk, it's not especially hard to do so. Away from trade and moving to political developments over in France, the French Prime Minister Bayrou losing a confidence vote in the French Parliament yesterday, very much in line with expectations, causing no discernible market reaction whatsoever. In fact, as I was talking to a client a moment ago, I think Bayrou's loss was pretty much priced in the second he called that confidence vote. Such was the arithmetic in the French legislature. Nevertheless, he is going to hand his resignation to President Macron this morning. The expectation then is that President Macron will try to find another prime minister, which will be his fifth in the last 2 years, who is able to command support of a majority of MPs in the French National Assembly. If he's unable to do that, then he is going to be forced to call legislative elections, which, as things stand at the moment, are unlikely to go especially favourably for him. The National Rally and Jordan Bardella look set to perform relatively well if a new poll is called. So we will keep a close eye on how that develops over the coming weeks. Of course, Bayrou and Barnier before him, it took quite a while before they were actually installed as Prime Minister. I think in Barnier's case, it took a couple of months. So don't necessarily expect a speedy resolution to this one. Just sticking with French politics, you'll recall, of course, that the National Rally's former leader, Marine Le Pen, was banned from standing for public
Yeah.
office between 2025 and 2030. Her appeal to that ban is going to be beginning on the 13th of January next year. And the reason why this is important is because, of course, France is due to have presidential elections in 2027 anyway. Given the ongoing instability, there is the potential that those elections are called early. As things stand right now, Le Pen would not be able to contest those elections, but that could change if and when that court makes a different ruling in the early part of next year. Sticking with political developments and moving here to the UK, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is reportedly set to tell ministers today that they need to prioritise the fight against inflation here in the UK. This is according to the FT, citing sources. A little bit late on that front, to be completely honest with you, with CPI set to hit, if not exceed 4% by September. But nevertheless, Reeves has finally woken up to what's going on there. Rachel Reeves has also reportedly blasted, I quote, a clown show of Reform UK's economic policies, which she says will hit Brits in their back pocket. Well, it takes one to know one on that front, Rach. Moving away from that, a couple of other bits and bobs from yesterday, just before I hand back to you, Ryan. On the tech front, NVIDIA, their chief exec, Jensen Huang, he is going to be coming over to the UK next week. Of course, President Trump is here for a state visit, and he's bringing a load of tech CEOs with him, including Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, Sam Altman from OpenAI, as well as BlackRock chief Larry Fink and Blackstone boss Stephen Schwartzman. Of course, the hope would be that this all generates some degree of investment or at least interest in the UK from some of these large US firms, although I certainly won't be holding my breath on that front. NVIDIA were also talking at a Goldman Sachs conference yesterday, saying that
Just on
they've
that,
now... Oh, go on.
all those tech lads.
Mm.
That's
Lads.
kind of going to Windsor to meet the king for a royal banquet and all that stuff as well, aren't they? So
Yeah, pulling out all the stops, yeah.
pulling all the stops out.
Indeed.
We'll be down the jam pot if they fancy a beer afterwards.
Well, bring Tom Talks Cars along to translate whatever they might be on
Yeah,
about. Well, he has his uses sometimes, might buy a round.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh so loudly.
Yeah, he's not even here. Oh, he is. Morning, Tom.
He is. Something much longer.
Sticking with NVIDIA, they were also speaking at Goldman Sachs conference yesterday, saying they've received several licenses for H20 exports to some of their key customers in China. Of course, all well and good them having the license, but reports the other week were saying that actually these Chinese customers don't necessarily want to be buying them. So we will see how that one evolves. NVIDIA were also saying that they expect data center revenue in the third quarter to be up 17%. Their previous guidance had been for that to be increasing by 12%. Apparently, this is going to be driven by Blackwell GB200, GB300 Ultra, and other networking synergies. So good for them. And last, but by no means least, back to Japan, Reuters citing sources this morning on the BOJ, noting that political uncertainty in Japan will not derail the BOJ's normalization plan, but it could impact the timing of the next rate hike. Very much in line with our thinking yesterday, in fact, around the idea that the BOJ, they want to hike rates, but there is always an excuse for them not to, and they keep reaching for this bloody excuse.
Yeah, they've not once been, quote, derailed, but there has been countless times where it's kind of tweaked their timing or delayed their timing, which, let's be honest, it's basically been getting derailed after being derailed after being derailed after being derailed. I'm still quite confident that by the time they're getting into the swing of hiking, they'll need to cut, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, you could already make the argument that they're kind of missing the boat globally. Certainly as the Fed look to... Yeah, and also just on a global monetary policy perspective, of course, the Fed are looking to resume easing from September, the BOE continuing to ease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, again, they do seem to be doing...
The rates might meet in the middle.
Yeah, they're going to come down a lot more here than they are increase in Japan, I think is the bet.
Exactly that. Well, Mr. Brown, thank you for that. Let me just rattle through some of the selected headlines from the overnight news roundup, courtesy of our dear friend Zach Eisman. Do follow Zach on Twitter. Do follow or subscribe to our Substack, etc., etc. Macro news. Trump's advisors are preparing a report laying out alleged shortcomings of the BLS jobs report. They must need a lot of paper for that one. This is the Wall Street Journal. The administration is considering publishing this study written by the Council of Economic Advisors in the coming weeks. That'll be a must-read. Goldman Sachs CEO.
Well, just very quickly on that. Remember, the CEA chair, Steve Moran, is going to be on the Fed board next week.
Well, there you go.
So that may actually be a bit more impactful than we would expect.
All coming together. All coming together. Where was I? Sorry, quickly. Goldman Sachs CEO Solomon, when he's not DJing, he signaled that there's no need for a Federal Reserve to rapidly cut interest rates, diverging from Trump's administration's pressure on the central bank to loosen monetary policy. Lumber prices, they are flashing a warning sign for the US economy, with wood prices sliding and mills cutting back because of uncertainty over tariffs and a building slump. Bank of Japan sources, this is what Michael was just saying, noting political uncertainty won't derail, but it will push back rates rising gradually. Analysts at Evercore ISI are pushing back their call for the next hike from October to January following Shiba's resignation. Goldman Sachs and Bank of America strategists are backing the Swiss franc over the yen, with rising political uncertainty undermining the appeal of Japanese currency as a safe haven asset. Indonesia, Rupiah sank. I think that's the name. Sorry, I thought that was someone's name. Fucking hell.
That's the currency,
Indonesia's Rupiah sank the most in 5 months, while its stocks plunged more than 1% on Tuesday. Sorry, I needed coffee. After an abrupt ouster of its influential finance chief sparked fears that populist spending plans could erode the country's fiscal discipline.
That finance chief have been in place for something stupid like 15 of the last 20 years as well, which is why markets are reacting so adversely on that.
Yeah, it's very much a carve up over there. If you know the right people, backs are being scratched. The FCC said it had begun proceedings to withdraw recognition from 7 test labs owned by or controlled by Chinese governments. That's citing US national security concerns. Equity names, before I hand back to Michael, a few here. Microsoft have agreed to pay $17.4 billion for GPU infrastructure capacity over the next 5 years to Nebius. Nebius will provide GPU capacity at its new data center in New Jersey, with services deployed in several tranches this year and next. NBIS shares jumped 47% in after-hours trading. So someone's done all right there. Intel, they've announced a series of top executive changes, including departure of the products chief, and the share rose 0.6% in after hours on that news. Dell Technologies said that CFO Yvonne McGill is resigning after nearly 3 decades with the company. The company reaffirmed guidance for Q3 and full year. Dell fell 0.8% after hours. NVIDIA and TSMC, they're working together on co-packaged optics for NVIDIA's next-gen Rubin GPU architecture, which is scheduled for 2026, putting the value of this technology in the tens of billions of dollars. That's according to those that know. Goldman Sachs, they won a $40 billion mandate from Shell to oversee the pensions pot, basically, for the energy giant. It's one of the biggest outsourced deals of its kind to date. So one to keep an eye on there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of this with like these huge mega companies with huge pension pots just giving it to someone else to manage, because to those that really should know what they're doing. But there we go. We'll see what happens. Anglo American said it had agreed to merge with Tech Resources, with the London-listed miner owning about 62.4% and the Canadian miner holding 37.6% of the newly combined company. And finally, from me, before I hand back, Chinese property shares surged in Hong Kong, led by Country Garden Holdings. Does everyone remember that?
I thought they'd gone bankrupt.
Yeah, same. An analyst pointed to policy signals and new lending rules as key drivers for the rally. Who did we have the other day as well? Not
Evergrande. They were finally delisted, weren't they?
So all the Chinese property names are coming back. They're coming back at me. Just when they thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Anyway, that's it from me. Obviously, far more news on the overnight news roundup, courtesy of Zach and the Substack. So do check that out. But back to you in the studio.
Good stuff. Thank you, Ryan. In terms of today, then, it's all about jobs once again. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the Bureau of Labour Statistics will be releasing the rather technically sounding preliminary benchmark revisions to establishment survey data. What the hell does that mean in English? Well, what it means is that the BLS are going to take the payrolls figures that they released in the 12 months to March 2025 and compare those to the quarterly census of employment and wages, which is much more delayed than the non-farm payrolls releases, but also considerably more accurate. This is likely to result in quite a chunky downward revision to the employment data that had been released over that year to the end of Q1 this year. Although I must be honest that the consensus or the range of estimates that I've seen for how big this downward revision could be is, quite frankly, comically large. The most conservative estimate sees a downward revision of about 250,000 jobs. The most aggressive estimate sees a downward revision of about 900,000 jobs. This number could really come in anywhere, to be completely honest with you. The median expectation is about 700,000, which would be roughly 60,000 jobs per month if it was split evenly across that period, which of course it won't be. The reason why we're focusing on this is because, of course, firstly, there's been a lot of concern over data quality when it comes to the numbers that the BLS have been putting out of late. But secondly, of course, the labour market has been stalling in recent months, and this data is potentially likely to show that the labour market has actually been stalling for longer than we previously been expecting. The figures, though, while they may cause market pricing in terms of Fed policy expectations to jump around a little bit, they're unlikely, to be honest, to have a significant impact on the FOMC's thinking. And the reason for that is because the most recent revision that will be in this data set later on is for March of this year, which is ages ago in any time frame. But of course, that is also before all of the Liberation Day tariff nonsense that we've had since. So I don't think it's going to have a big impact in terms of moving the needle for what the Fed do next, with a 25 basis point cut at the September FOMC meeting pretty much locked in regardless. The other note just to make in terms of this benchmark payrolls revisions, and I mentioned this yesterday, is that the last time this was released, funnily enough, this time last year, the BLS, to put it politely, made a pig's ear of the release. It hit news wires about 15 minutes after it was scheduled to. As we said yesterday, Basie, our good mate, had to actually ring up the BLS to find out what the number was. You would hope that they have ironed out all of those little teething and technical issues and things will be a lot smoother this afternoon. But do bear in mind that there is the potential for it to descend into shambles once more. And that potential is probably heightened by all of those technical issues that the BLS were having on Friday before the jobs report was released. Away from those benchmark revisions, there is not too much going on today, to be completely honest with you. We do have a 3-year Treasury auction at 6 o'clock this evening, $58 billion worth being sold off, and that comes ahead of 10 and 30-year sales on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. There are some central bank speakers due today, including the ECB's Nagel and Villeroy, the BOE's Breeden and the SNB's Schlegel. The first 3 of those, though, are all in their pre-meeting blackout periods, so we're not likely to get anything in terms of the policy outlook from them. And on the earnings front, a couple of earnings just worth bearing in mind after the market closed this evening. Firstly, we're due to hear from Oracle. Of course, they've been in focus quite a lot recently. And the other notable release after the close is that of GameStop, although to say that GameStop doesn't trade in line with its fundamentals might be a bit of an understatement. That's pretty much it in terms of scheduled events. Of course, focus remains on the political drama that we're seeing play out pretty much everywhere at the moment, and also any unexpected trade, tariff or geopolitical headlines that may drop throughout the day as well. But that is all from me this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Michael Brown. It's that's it from Michael. That's it from me. That's it from my new friend Rupiah Sank. And yeah, fuck's sake.
Even for you, that's bad.
Oh my god, that's terrible. Even for me, that is terrible. Right, everyone, have a great day. Down the unions. Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow.
And on the off chance, if any of them are listening, if you are protesting outside the office, can you just fuck off somewhere else, please? Cheers.
Counterpoint: if you are outside of Michael's office, throw some flares in his direction, please. Right. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye for now.